hardwood.
SmackDown was probably my favorite part of the weekend, but I have to have
agree.
I have to have a co-favorite part of the weekend as a Sixers fan.
The co-main event.
Listen, and I'm gonna get this part out of the way right now, all right? Because my favorite line today was, well, all they did was beat the Timberwolves and beat the Knicks. Listen, they beat the Bulls without James Harden, and they beat the Bucks without James Harden right before the All-Star break.
Yeah.
So I don't need to hear about who they're playing anymore.
No,
I just want to see how they're playing now.
And they look good.
Do they?
They look good.
Okay. Because I was told they were going to be stale offense, ISO ball. James Harden was going to,
28 assists in 2 games.
I, directly after Sunday's game, looked it up, and I tweeted it, the Hoodie and Ozz pod. 275 games Ben Simmons played with the Sixers. He had 17 assists once.
Ben, you're not welcome on this show.
He had over 16 assists one time. He had 16 or more assists one time in 275 games. In 2 games, James Harden did that. So, it's 16. So, I mean, I think it's working. It's early.
I think it's working. Everyone looks happy. Joe looks...
Open. Everybody looks open.
Joe's dunking from the foul line. Joe is dunking from the foul line. Well, I mean...
He looks like a monster. Like, so, there's a joke that goes around Philly. They call him Godzilla. Like, they say Joel Embiid's Godzilla. He's looking like Godzilla in some of those moments. Like, he is...
My buddy told me today that... shout out my boy. I don't know if he wants his name dropped, but shout out my boy. He told me that Joel Embiid forced 5 fouls on 2 centers for the Knicks in the first quarter.
Yeah.
I mean,
yep.
I mean, he was just cooking, dude.
So like, my favorite part was everyone's complaining. I can't think of the person who was on Twitter, but somebody was complaining about how LeBron in 6 games hasn't had as many free throws as Joel had on Sunday. And I went out and looked. LeBron shot 50 3-pointers in those games, right? So like, if LeBron went to the rim, he'd probably get the same amount of calls. Because I love LeBron, but I'll be honest, he gets the star call just like Joel does and James Harden. But it doesn't bother me, because if you're actually fouling them like within the rules, then it is what it is. And they're going to go to the line. And if that's their game, then like, listen, I'll see you on Broadway.
Yeah.
You can complain about it while they're carrying the Larry O down Broad Street.
Yeah, because absolutely. Yeah, because Joe just, it opens up the floor for everyone.
Man. So like, Maxi's wide open, and even Thibault, I mean, nobody claims he's the best shooter in the world. He's there for defense for the most part, but he's a solid offensive player. But he's even getting open looks.
Exactly, and if those guys can really develop a shot.
Yes.
I mean, or just knock down shots that come their way.
If Maxey can do half of what he's done in those 2 games with James Harden. I mean, Sunday, I did watch Friday. I rewatched it Saturday morning. But Sunday, what he did on Sunday was he was hitting shots with people in his face, buzzer running down.
And he looks so much quicker.
Yeah.
Because of the pace that everyone else on that team plays.
Yes. Speaking of Cal, I mean, one of his guys running around crazy.
Huge recruit.
And he's fast. Like you said,
he's electric.
The Sixers actually tweeted a video, and they said this is not in fast forward. And like, he did. He looked like he was cruising like
it's
that
crazy
fast.
They have to specify.
They're like, this is not fast. Because he was looking that fast in the video.
Yeah.
So just 2 straight games that everybody, I think, starting to look comfortable. It is only 2 games in, so I don't want to...
Joel has over 70 in those 2 games.
And like I said, I'd love to rub it in everyone's face with Larry O'Brien going down the stretch. We will see going into the playoffs, but at the end of the day, my biggest thing when they traded Ben for Harden, even before he played a game, I said I felt like it was a win just because one player was sabotaging them and the other player's coming to try to win a championship.
They've already gotten more out of James.
But now, 2 games in.
And certain stats ever out of Ben.
Exactly. In 2 games in, he's already putting up numbers that Ben, as great as Ben was at times, I was a Ben Simmons defender until he decided to do what he did against the Hawks there at the end of last season. I was a huge Ben defender, but he's still, this is a different Joel Embiid. I mean, this is a different Maxey. This is a different everybody.
Different Harden.
It's a different Harden too, that's for sure.
They were calling it Madison Square Harden, I heard, on Philly radio.
I mean, I love
That's
that.
incredible.
I love it.
That's
incredible.
incredible.
It. So,
and I would say one of the only threats to them in the East is Chicago. DeMar, 10 straight games of 30 points.
One of my favorite stories
He's really hooping.
Is DeMar Rosen. Like, I remember one of the stories I heard when he got traded from where was it from? Toronto.
Toronto, yeah.
He said he sat outside a restaurant and cried for like a half hour or something like that.
I'm sure.
He didn't say a word, didn't talk to nobody, and then I remember when he went to San Antonio. It almost is like, as great as Pop is, it almost like wasn't like the perfect fit. It was a fit.
Definitely.
DeMar can hoop anywhere, right? But
yeah, his services weren't being clearly utilized.
But then he gets to the Bulls, and I mean, listen, I don't know if the Bulls, as you said, they are a threat. I don't know how much of a threat to the championship they are, but they are a sleep.
They're the one seed now, so
right?
You at least got to catch them.
I'll give you that.
At least got to catch them. So.
But they're well above expectations, clearly.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, they're a solid team. I mean, they've
past DeMar.
They've been impressive.
And I will throughout the years, and we'll hopefully do this long enough that we're able to make fun of each other for the misses. So I'll always talk about the misses, but I got Lonzo right. I was in everyone's ear talking about how I thought that he was going to be perfectly fine.
He's a system guy.
I love his game.
He's a system guy. If there's a guy that can get buckets,
it was just to me like at UCLA, there was enough there that like. I thought that the hype and I understood the conversation on that is what it was. But I meant like if you're just talking about solid NBA player for the next couple years, I figured he could do this.
I struck out Lonzo because
Oh no, I was for him. I was
not
Lonzo.
a chance.
I was for him. I didn't like the dad.
Yeah,
but I was for LaMelo too.
Oh, I love LeVar.
I love LeVar too.
LeVar, you ever want to come on the show? You're more than welcome.
I'll be the first to tell you, I wasn't a LeVar hater, but I wasn't a LeVar fan. I love LeVar now.
Look at his vision.
Listen, when you're right, you're right, and when you're wrong, the world needs to admit they're wrong.
Yep.
And LeVar was right. There ain't no question. I was a huge fan of LaMelo too coming out because I was already on Team LeVar at that point. You know, so
absolutely, I love LaMelo Ball.
LaMelo's fun, man.
He's fun.
Not to make Alonzo conversation with LaMelo as always, but
he's a G and he's good at.
Yeah,
he's a bucket. He's definitely a bucket. Sunday was crazy in the NBA too.
Sunday was wild
with the
outside of the Sixers.
Yeah, more upsets. Yeah.
Yes.
After 1 p.m. Actually, I guess the 1 and the 3 game kind of went. I kind of had Utah because. Chris Paul's out.
Yeah.
So
I didn't watch a whole lot of that game because I was watching the race, but I did keep tabs on it.
I flipped back and forth.
You're right though because Utah being better, I did see that coming as well.
That wasn't too surprising. Golden State against Dallas though, that was.
Man, I gotta tell a story. So my kid and I'm trying to get him to bed. I'm watching that game, and I said, all right, you know what? It's 15, 20-point game. I'm like, all good. It is what it is. Let's go to bed. So I turn everything off, and him and I fall asleep. And I wake up. In that 15 or 20-point lead.
Oh, they came storming back.
I missed it. I went to bed.
They came storming back.
But I did see all the highlights. Crazy. Luka
is just.
Yeah. I mean, he led it. And then.
The Lakers.
I mean, arguing with fans?
They looked bad.
Arguing with fans?
Yeah, it's bad. The whole vibe, the whole feel, everyone's pissed off.
Listen, I love LeBron, but
I love LeBron too. I just really hope he reins it in, and I still think they could snap a finger and make a run because that's what LeBron does.
You and I have seen it a million times.
That's what LeBron does.
It's possible. It's real. It's there. I agree with you that that's.
I just don't know if this team's mentally built for that.
It's everybody around him on top of it. Like, and you listen. That's LeBron the GM, as everybody likes to say. So I'm not even gonna argue that.
Absolutely, yeah. No,
but
you and I talked about that earlier.
Yes, we did talk.
LeBron the GM is just I don't understand.
I don't like where he's at with his career. In general,
so I don't think he thinks about anything after when he's there. I mean,
oh no, but that's how he's treated every situation,
and that's unfortunate because you start planning for the future, you'll fuck around and get a title.
But like you told me before,
you'll fuck around and get a title.
But like you told me before, that's kind of how sports is going to be in 10 years with a different thing. This is how I think sports is going to be in 10 years. Like look at what the Packers or the Lakers are always doing. Like if you have the best player in the game or what you perceive as the best player in the game, then you're going to go all out. No matter what cap you're in, no matter what it looks like, no matter what the future holds, you're doing everything you can to win a championship today. And that's why the Lakers are in the situation they're in.
So my combat to that would be like the Cowboys should be in that mindset.
Okay.
Like they should win right now because it's been so long. A team like the Lakers, you just build something. Like
so I think what
you just got a title, man.
I think what's hard to calculate is
I can't tell these people how to run their organization.
Well, it's AD. I think. Listen, going into this season, I think this season was a very clear marker now. Okay, there does have to be a different direction. Like going into the season,
if AD is a wet rag, he's completely ringed out. Right. I mean, they got everything they can. So,
and that's kind of the thing.
Like, everything
going into the season, though, I think the thought was, well, AD, as long as he's the guy that we think he's going to be for 75% of the season, LeBron's who he is for 75% of the season. Those two can carry no matter how bad Westbrook is into the future and next year, but no further, but next year, and then AD can do it for another year or two after that. That's what they were thinking in this offseason. I think this particular year it almost showed their ass in a lot of ways. Now it's we got to figure out, are we going to keep AD for the next 5 years? This isn't a good idea. Like you just said, they've gotten everything. I agree with you. I'll be honest. I like AD a lot.
Yeah.
I think his time in LA is pretty. It's an Andy Reid thing for me. Andy Reid's message got stale. Like I love Andy Reid. I still to this day love Andy Reid. But it makes sense. You couldn't keep him in Philly any longer. Yeah. It makes sense. AD, if they wanted to move on from him and he wanted to move on from them, a fresh start for everybody's probably going to make no sense.
Yeah, that. Sometimes that's just what guys need.
They can get a lot for him too, though.
Look at Matt Stafford, dude.
Look at Matt Stafford. Yeah. So, but you got to figure out the Russell Westbrook situation.
Well, I think everyone knows which way that has to go. You might have to be in a shitty position for a year with money and stuff, but that's what you're gonna have to eat. Again, is LeBron sticking around for a year with a little bit of money? More to talk about.
Twitter's Twitter, but I saw a stupid person, a stupid tweet say they thought who was it? Westbrook and a couple things and they could somehow net Buddy Hield, and I was just listen,
it's too late for that.
You're gonna have a whole lot more than a couple.
You should have done that to begin with.
I agree. That's it. Basketball wise, as much as I love LeBron, basketball wise, it just didn't make sense to do what they did instead of that. But
and bring Russ home. He's gonna be rejuvenated.
And everybody gets on Rob Pelinka.
Man.
Rob's the one who set up the deal where they almost got that. So clearly, I think he's doing a good job.
Yeah, sources say him and Brown are.
Oh yeah, well, Clutch and him had to have a 2-hour meeting. Which, if you have a 2-hour meeting, does that mean things are going well?
No, unless you're drinking.